What is up, everybody? MMA Savant and my lovely co-host and wife, Carmen.
Hi, MMA fans.
And we are back at it again. So this is the the post-fight breakdown of UFC 194, headlined by Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. Co-main event, Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold for the middleweight strap. Lots to talk about. Before we get into the main card, though, I do want to talk about some of the prelims. A couple decisions we don't really care about or whatever, but I want to find it and make a note here that Warlley Alves takes on Colby Covington. And in the first round, they're up against the fence. Colby has Warlley, who's a Season 3 Tough Brazil winner there. And Warlley jumps to the guillotine with the arm in. And I can tell by the way they went down, it was already over in just a matter of time. That guillotine was so tight that Colby had to tap. And once they released, he was clutching his chest. That's how tight it was. The man is a guillotine specialist, and it showed. Another one I want to talk about is 7-time Jiu-Jitsu world champion Santos fights Mayweather Gym Detroit Phenom boxer Kevin Lee. Now, Kevin Lee has been calling out Sage Northcutt, but this fight doesn't really bode well to his career, not because he lost, but the way he lost. Santos knocks out Kevin Lee. Knocks him down and finishes him with strikes. So for a boxer to get outstruck by the jiu-jitsu master, it's kind of a funny thing, something worth talking about. Check your local water coolers at work. And
yeah, the last notable prelim we have is Faber and Sainz. Faber won by decision, and yeah.
Yeah, so Faber, to his own admission, he takes on a gentleman named Frankie Sainz. They're about the same age. And Faber let us know that they actually came up in the wrestling world together. And I believe Frankie Sainz went to Arizona State, where you got Aaron Simpson, Ryan Bader, Cain Velasquez, and other fantastic wrestlers. And Faber went to UC Davis out there in Sacramento area. Faber said that Sainz was actually a better wrestler than him on the collegiate circuit. And Faber's grappling is fantastic. They had good scrambles. But Frankie Sainz got a sweep. I don't know what they call that in wrestling. I never wrestled before, but he got a reversal of sorts. And he was actually pretty dominant in the grappling exchanges for part of the time.
He was actually very difficult for Faber to take down. You saw Faber had a lot of takedown attempts, but wasn't able to pull them off, which is why you see he won by decision and not by his usual submission.
Yeah. Now, as good as the wrestler as you are, Faber came to win. Faber is going to favor. He did what he had to do. He got the W. Here's hoping he makes another title run because he's a fun fighter. People like him. You know, I'm a NorCal guy. You know, we all love him out there. And why not? You know, if Faber's got the heart to do it, you know, I got the time. So we're moving on now.
All right. So to start off the main card, we have Max Holloway and Jeremy Stephens. Holloway wins this fight by decision.
Okay. When you hear the name Max Holloway and you hear the name Jeremy Stephens, it piques your interest.
Yeah, you think exciting fight.
You absolutely do. And when you hear those men are going to be locked in a cage 25 feet across from each other, 30 feet if you will, and when that bell goes off, they're going to come out blazing two bulls. That's what you want to see. It didn't quite go that way. It was a good fight, but we were kind of expecting a Diego Sanchez Giblert Melendez, if you will, Giblert type fight, maybe a Dennis Bermudez and Matt Grice type fight.
This was more of a technical fight. Neither one could really find a good opening to just go at the other guy, and as a result, you ended up with a fight where they got a couple strikes in here and there, and then it went to a decision. It was not the most exciting fight.
It really wasn't, and I don't want to talk about this fight too much. It was a good win for Max Holloway. Where that puts him in the division, only time will tell. But Jeremy Stephens is a hard out for any fighter out there.
All right. So next on our main card, we have Damian Maia versus Gunnar Nelson. This was a great fight. Damian Maia wins by decision, but it was not a boring decision. He dominated the entire fight from beginning to end.
Yeah, so to put that in a frame of mind where it wasn't, oh, Damian Maia happened to win by decision. Damian, if you look at the judges' scores here, 30-25, 30-25, 30-26, all going in the favor of the Brazilian, and he earned every bit of it.
Yeah, so that means that 2 judges gave Damian Maia 2 10-8 rounds, and 10-8 rounds aren't given out very often. They have to be extremely dominant rounds to the point that the ref is close to ending the fight.
Absolutely. You would have to watch MMA every day for a month of Sundays to ever see a score that dominant again. Now, to put it to you, Gunnar Nelson, the Icelandic standout from Reykjavik, he trains with Conor McGregor's team under John Kavanagh, SBG. He's a Renzo Gracie black belt. And he's not your average black belt. He went to Abu Dhabi. He beat Jeff Monson. He did very well against Benny Magalesh. And he went 9 minutes or so with Jean de Ribeiro until he got tapped out with a knee bar. And for those of you jiu-jitsu mat rats out there, you know who those names are. I don't need to tell you that Jean de Ribeiro is the winningest jiu-jitsu player of all time. He's up there with Roger and Marcelo in his division.
Well, you know that Gunnar Nelson has fantastic jiu-jitsu in order to hang in there with Damian Maia. I mean, he did not get submitted by Damian Maia, which says a lot about his ground game.
Yeah, but any capable grappler can tuck everything in, tuck the hands in, tuck the chin, avoid 2-on-1. But it was, you know what? Before I go on to that tangent, I got to give Gunnar Nelson the nod here, and a tip of the cap, if you will. He swept Damian Maia in the first round. It was only for a short time. He didn't really do much with it, but that is a win in and of itself. Okay, anyway, so Damian Maia's jiu-jitsu is that good. I could do a whole nother video, and I'll go to the storage unit, I'll pull out my mats, I'll get somebody, and we'll do a technique video and everything. I'll talk for 17 hours straight, and I still will not be able to drive the point home how good Damian Maia's control is. Now, we're going to talk about control in the Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman video, because I don't think it, I want to give it his due diligence, but time is of the essence, so we're going to move on. Congratulations to Damian Maia. Fantastic showing.
All right, so next on our main card, we have Romero versus Jacare. Romero won by a split decision. This fight did have some controversy.
Yeah, well, the controversy is amongst, and the murmurs are on the forums, and the people talking and everything. And so in the first round, Jacare is rocked by a spinning back fist thrown by the Cuban silver medalist in wrestling. It rocks him. He's on Queer Street. He's on wobbly legs, and it shows.
Well, he ends up on the ground where Romero pounds on him until the end of the round when he's saved by the bell, and you can see when he gets up to go to his corner that he's barely able to stay on his feet.
Yeah. So anyway, so the bell, they go to the thing, they call seconds out. The fight continues on, second round, and Jacare has Romero up against the cage, and they're clinching, and as you can see from the picture here, let me put my cursor on it for you guys. Okay. Well, what you have here is they're up against the cage, or the fence rather. Romero is grabbing the fence. If I had a paint program, I'd circle it and do the whole John Madden, but I don't really know how to do that yet. So he's got his Romero has the whizzer, Jacare has the underhook, and he's, by the look of his body, he's dropping down either for a lateral drop or anyway. But the point is, it's some kind of takedown, and he's clearly, blatantly grabbing the fence. Mark Goddard, who's a great referee, he should have took a point. Anyway, he lets go of the fence under Mark Goddard's command. They go to the ground. Mark Goddard stops it and stands back up. If you're a world champion jiu-jitsu player like Jacare is, you don't want to stand back up. You know, even if your striking is good. Yeah. So a little controversy there.
Mark Goddard played it by the rule book, 100%. You know, Romero grabbed the fence. He ended up being on top, which normally puts the guy on the bottom, you know, in a bad position. So the rule says stop it. He stands back up, but he is allowed to take a point, and he didn't. Jacare wasn't too happy about the stand-up, or at least he didn't look too happy about the stand-up. And this round, I believe, could have made a huge difference in the score, because one of the judges gave Jacare a 10-8 round in the first, and Romero, sorry, and that was a 29-27 score. So he gave Jacare the third round. The other second judge gave Jacare the third round and Romero the first and second, and the third gave Jacare the second and third. So you can see the second round is very important. If they had taken a point away, the fight very well could have ended up being a draw. Or if he had left him on the ground, you know, where Jacare might have been able to do something, the fight could have gone a very different way. He possibly could have finished him. We'll never know. So I almost wonder if they should go back and recheck the rule book and maybe, you know, come up with a different procedure that actually benefits the guy that was screwed over.
I agree. Something has to be done about these rules and about enforcing them. I know the show must go on and we don't want to hold up too much time, but we got to start deducting points, you know. Also, I want to put this one to bed right now. I am a Herb Dean certified referee, judge, and inspector. So I know what I'm talking about to a degree. Okay, I'm pretty new to it. I've been doing it for, you know, a year or so, a little more, whatever. And I want to put this one to bed. Everybody always comments, and I saw Tim Kennedy's Twitter feed, about how Yoel Romero cheated in their fight. Yoel Romero did not cheat in their fight. The whole thing with the stool, so you have a commission, and you have the UFC, or whichever promotion, Bellator, ONE FC, it doesn't matter, WSOF, the commission is not paid by the promotion at all. So the commission was doing the grease and the cut man and everything. So a commission member, not Yoel Romero's corner, not the UFC's guy, not one of Tim Kennedy's guys, put too much Vaseline on Yoel Romero. He couldn't go back in there until that big glob of Vaseline or whatever, the grease was wiped off his face. So he had to sit there anyway until a commission member came in there and cleaned him up. He did happen to get 38 seconds of extra stool time. So, and also, not, you know.
But he didn't ask for it. He didn't ask for the extra stuff to be put on his face. Yeah. You know, he wasn't purposely
No,
trying to
and
stall.
he did save. Tim Kennedy kicked his ass in the last half of that, in the last part of that round, and he was saved by the bell. So with that being said, Tim Kennedy in the next round, if you rewatch the fight, he hooks his fingers for about 2 seconds into Yoel Romero's glove, which is a foul. You cannot do that. And when we give the fighters the rules meetings and everything, that is one of them. And it's a no-no in all states. You can't do it. So, ironically, well, not really ironically, but coincidentally, Tim Kennedy is one who cheated in that fight. Yoel Romero was just a strange event, a strange series of events in the Tim Kennedy Yoel Romero fight. So there's that. Smarter men than I will be able to break that down better for you, but that's the basic rundown of what happened betwixt those two gentlemen. I expect a little more out of Jacare as far as aggression goes. I mean, you're not gonna rush in on somebody as dangerous as Romero. I kind of want a little more for him, or from him rather, but yeah.
He wasn't able to get the takedown,
Romero won.
which he wanted. So
Romero won. It's looking like Jacare. I don't know. I mean Romero and Luke Rockhold. So I'm rambling here. We're gonna move on.
all right. And now we are to our co-main event. This is Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman. Rockhold beats Chris Weidman in a round 4 TKO. Very, very fun fight.
Yeah. So people around the MMA community have not been sold on Chris Weidman, and I was with them. Chris Weidman's talented. Chris Weidman is a good wrestler. So to break it down for you, he's only fought Brazilians on the wrong side of 35 years old to get and to keep the title. And the word was, whenever he fights a man who's his age, who's his equal, is going to get tested, exposed, and dominated, or any combination of the three. And it showed in this fight. Basically what you have here is East Coast, West Coast, New York, San Jose, Bay Area, San Jose, California. A fantastic wrestler with good jiu-jitsu, a great jiu-jitsu grappler, black belt with good wrestling. Both of them had different styles of striking. One's more versatile, one's more plodding and walk forward, gritty and tough. It was a good matchup. It was the best matchup to make, and Luke Rockhold came out the victor in flying colors. Easily number one with a bullet. There is no competition. There is no controversy here. Rockhold did get hit with a couple of good body shots, as you guys will see right here. And I thought it hurt Luke. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I read the situation wrong. Maybe Luke just used to it for years of striking. But somewhere in the third round, Chris Weidman goes off script, leaves his comfort zone, and he throws an attempted wheel kick. Kind of like Vitor threw against Rockhold a couple years back. Rockhold saw it a mile away, gets the body lock around the clinch gets a body lock takedown, rolls with Chris Weidman. First takedown Chris Weidman's ever not been able to stuff. Puts his hooks in, and let me describe to you Luke Rockhold's mount. For those of you who don't know, a good mount isn't necessarily a tight mount, because if your mount is too tight, you roll with your man. But if it's loose and your posture is straight up and down, and you balance your weight properly, you can let the guy spin underneath you. So if you have him mounted, punching him in the face, he'll get to his side. Keep punching him. He'll turn to his stomach. All right, well now you're at the worst possible place, because I can punch you in the head, you can carry my weight, or I can just choke you. And Luke had the advantage there in every facet of the game, getting the takedowns on the two-time All-American out of Hofstra University. Luke Rockhold has won this fight. There should be no rematch. Chris Weidman, my man, to the back of the line. All respect to you, but you got bested. We like you, Chris Weidman. But not every champion gets a rematch every single time. I don't think you earned it. You got beat handily. Luke Rockhold is tall. He's listed at 6'3", but he's a tall 6'3". He might even be 6'4", so he's got that range. Okay? This isn't a weightlifting competition. This isn't a strongman competition. This is a, hey, I fight for a living, so how do I inflict damage upon my opponent without taking too much myself? I stay out of the way. I use my long legs, and I throw the kick. I break guys down. And the kick that Luke Rockhold threw a couple times that people were oohing and awing at is called the question mark kick. You go to the body, you go to the legs, you go to the body, you go to the body, and when the opponent drops his hands, you come straight up from the bottom, like you would kick to the face, Anderson Silva style. And when you get about halfway up, you open your hips up, and you come over the top in the shape of a question mark. It's a pretty cool kick. Check it out. Luke has a tutorial on it on YouTube somewhere. We're going to move on now. Fantastic title change. Luke Rockhold got the win. All the best to Chris Weidman. He'll come back, and we'll see how his career goes from here.
All right, last on our main card, we have McGregor versus Aldo. McGregor beats Aldo in a round 1 KO.
All right. So, we all know the history of Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. We know the build-up. We know everything that happened. So that the night happened, the co-main event is done, and out walks Conor McGregor. He walks out to a mix of Sinead O'Connor and blends into Notorious by B.I.G. Because Notorious Conor McGregor, that's his thing. He gets in there, and there's a confidence that you can't emulate and you can't fake it. There's no posturing. There's no peacocking. He knew the night was his. He goes in there. He does his thing. He's warming up. Jose Aldo walks out to his song. The fight's ready. Jose Aldo isn't loose. Conor McGregor is supple. He is loose. He is looking good. Jose Aldo's different tonight. There's a tension about him. I see it. Everybody sees it. So anyway, the two gentlemen come to the middle of the cage. Big John McCarthy, title fight, blah, blah, blah. Back to your corners. They come out. Small exchange. Nothing really happens at first. Then, like Conor McGregor, the mystic himself, predicted, Jose Aldo loaded up on that right hand. He came forward. He faked with the right. Stepped in and swung with the left. But while he did that, Conor McGregor came out in that hopping side stance that he does, and without even changing up his rhythm, he throws the left straight and he puts it on Jose Aldo's jaw, on his chin, and he drops him. Now, Jose Aldo, through, I don't know, coincidence or muscle memory or whatever, still lands the punch on Conor McGregor, still lands that left hook to Conor McGregor. Doesn't result in double knockout. It's too slow to the punch. It happened with Chuck Liddell against Rashad Evans. It happened with Dan Hardy against Carlos Condit. Different situation, different setup. But people, we have a new champion after 6 years of dominance as a featherweight champion, after 10 years of no losses. All that came crashing down. But you know what? Conor McGregor is the man to beat. And every so often, there is a regime change in mixed martial arts. Years ago, Matt Hughes, the big, strong farm boy from Iowa, nobody could beat him. And then along comes this unassuming looking Hawaiian guy who could do everything. And he beat him. Well, how's that possible? I'm big and strong. I got skills, says BJ Penn. All right, well, who's this other guy? Who's this French Canadian from Montreal, Quebec, Canada? Well, what's he got for me? He's got a determination and a mastery of takedowns and just a supreme skill set. Okay, what's next? You have all these super athletes come in, you know, and you've got specialists coming in here. Conor McGregor is the newest breed. He's not. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I disagree. I don't put him on the level with those guys. Not yet. I know that he's been dominant in his fights, but I don't see it yet. I mean, Chad Mendes was beating him in their first round, and that was on a short fight camp, and he, went down in the second. I think that this fight, while it did go exactly as Conor McGregor said it would go, it went just as planned. He got Aldo extremely emotional. Aldo came in wanting to, take his head off, and because of that, he didn't use his normal game plan. He wasn't smart in the fight. He came charging forward, and that left him open for Conor's left hand. I think a rematch would show a very different fight. I think that this is a little reminiscent of Cain and Velasquez's first fight. Cain and JDS's first fight, when JDS knocked out Cain Velasquez, but then they had a rematch and Cain came back and just destroyed JDS. And I feel if there is a rematch, that is what's going to happen. Wow. I don't think that McGregor is going to be a dominant champion like a GSP or a Matt Hughes.
Well, let me explain to you why you're right. Well, you just said the reasons why you're right. But there's a turning point when a person goes from, who's this Russian? Wow. That's Fedor. Wow. That's Cain Velasquez. That's BJ Penn. That's Sakuraba. There's a turning point. And I think knocking out the striker of a 10-year dominant run, the Muay Thai specialist that nobody wants to fight, nobody wants to get in a kicking battle with, a striking battle with a single punch, you've arrived.
Well, there's no denying his skill. Yes, he's got a fantastic left hand. He knocks people out. I can't deny that fact. That is a fact.
All right.
But
now, what if he were to take on? Okay, so the rematch with Jose Aldo. To us, it's not our life. We drop in, we hear things, but we go about our day. But Jose Aldo has been eating, sleeping, breathing Conor McGregor and all this stuff, training and media obligations, and then because of the rib injury, having to postpone it for another 5 months, for a long time now. He'd probably take some time away and just take a breather or take a different fight. Because it's too much Conor McGregor, it's too much Jose Aldo for the respective opponents or whatever. I think Frankie Edgar gets the next one. If Conor McGregor puts down Frankie Edgar, and after Frankie Edgar, he rematches Max Holloway, would you say he's up there after that?
Yes, but I want to see a rematch with Aldo. If Aldo doesn't,
we all do.
If Aldo doesn't want a rematch, then fine, I'll shut up. But if he does, I think that McGregor should have to give him a rematch before moving up in weight. I know that him and his guys were talking about moving up to the next weight class and possibly even trying to keep both belts in both weight classes, and I don't think that he should be able to do that. I think that he needs to, if Aldo wants a rematch, give him a rematch, and go from there.
Okay. Conor McGregor has no issue with giving Jose a rematch. In fact, when Big John McCarthy was raising Conor's hand and they were announcing everything, Bruce Buffer, Conor talked to Jose and said, "We can do it again if you would like to." It wasn't disrespectful. It wasn't anything. And Conor himself said he wished the contest would have gone longer to test himself, to see what Jose Aldo is really all about.
I agree, because if this had gone a first round and McGregor had, showed that he could be dominant through an entire round before knocking him out, I'd be singing another tune. But people get caught in the first round, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the fighter that did the knocking out is the better fighter.
I agree.
It means that
it doesn't mean that
they got caught.
It doesn't mean that. It's happened before. It happened with Kane and JDS. It happened with Paul Buentello and Andrei Arlovsky. Andrei Arlovsky turned out to be the bigger name. But I think Conor McGregor is the new breed. I think he's special. I think he's proved himself. And he's finishing everybody. I don't...
I think a couple more fights, the Aldo rematch and another title defense, and I'll probably be on your side.
Yeah, now, listeners out there, first of all, thank you for listening. Thank you for clicking on the video. Let me explain to you, I'm a huge fan of all the Nova União guys, all of Andre Pederneiras' students. Love Hennenbrow, love Jose Aldo. So I'm not coming into this breakdown here with any bias towards Jose Aldo or favoritism towards Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is annoying. Conor McGregor talks too much. Conor McGregor is kind of ridiculous. But he's fantastic. And a rematch would be music to anybody's ears, especially mine. And I don't think that Jose Aldo loses the next rematch. I think his game plan is different. If he happens to lose through a battle of attrition and Conor is a better man, that's okay. But I don't necessarily 100% give it to McGregor to definitely win the rematch, is what I'm saying. I haven't... In my eyes, you're not counted out after one loss after a decade of dominance. And with that, and I'm sure there's a million other videos out there breaking this down. I don't want to drive the point home too much. All right, for Carmen, this has been the MMA Savant, and we're out.